consolidate it down a little bit, go over the higher points, if you will. Couple things first and foremost, our sewer project is moving forward. This is our up-to-date file on it. I only have one copy. It's got maps. It has where we just signed paperwork on the EPA permit request and the grant request. We want to pass it around, look at it. The secondary one also, without being specific. This is our civil suit. This is everything up to date. It's moving forward. We're moving forward in litigation. We're up to date, being kept in the loop of what's going on. We can pass that one around as well. Now, next up, the fire department work to be done is not on the agenda. Okay, I met with two separate contractors on this one. This is back in 2024, where the board voted to do work on the front door of the fire department. We do have the materials on site. But in meeting with these contractors, the installation of metal beam, the southwest corner, there's a noticeable settling, as well as a crack in the concrete, about a 2 foot by 2 foot square in the corner. I think, and the reason it's not on the agenda, we'll look into this more because it could potentially be a bigger project. I don't think we need to spend the money right now towards the previously agreed upon contract. Since that contractor hasn't got back to me yet either, that's why I sought out the other bids. I want to get the bigger picture to make sure we're not just doing work to something we're going to have to do more work to later. And that those two coincide together for the project. We did have a retirement party for Mike Gully. After 42 years volunteer fire department, 18 years as chief, he did retire. Appreciate the board members that were in attendance. We did have a donation for the city. Mr. Brian Meyer took it upon himself to donate 30 new flagpoles to our village to display for upcoming and future corresponding holidays. I'd like to publicly thank him for his selfless donation and contribution that shows the strength in our community. We will be discussing the actual flags later on in the meeting, but this is going to go hand in hand with that. We have brand new poles to utilize as well. I did have the advantage of, or the privilege of being invited to the Liberty Tree dedication that was planned by the Sons of the American Revolution Long Knife chapter at the West Franklin Historic District. It was dedicated to memorial for future generations. It was hosted at the Moulton County School, which has multiple rooms surrounded upon it for local history in our neighboring towns. It's worth visiting. It's right next to the Silk Foreman Museum, and I'd like to thank Greg Webb and all his staff out there for what they do to preserve our history in the community. It was a good time. It was a good event, and I appreciate y'all for attending. I did tell you our sewer project's moving forward. That's why I passed around the folder. Aside from that, I don't have anything else for the mayor's report and correspondence at this time. Moving on to our committee reports. Mr. Jeff, police and fire.
Fire department had 2 08s discussion, 1 illegal burn out of town, traffic accident out of town, 1 total of 4 calls. Joe put on a couple of notes, need a radio for the car, 400, and decals for the car, 400. Also, Banner Fire will be here 8/10/26 to pump test engine 401 and 402. Let you know how those go the next meeting.
All right, Mr. Rob, you got anything for water and sewer?
I should know.
Gail's not here. I'll go over the ordinance reports. Derek's indisposed. He had a prior engagement, couldn't make it. Without getting specific, you guys can see the list on here. It's an outlet email. Top left corner's got the outlet symbol. It says July ordinance. He's sent out 17 notices. We do have one address that is not an active address. So water bills are coming back and all his violations are coming back as well. He expressed to us maybe seeking out Franklin County for service on that and possibly get the fees wrapped up therein to where we can get the person in violation served rather than keep wasting uncertified note and sent back. Moving forward sawmill, where you keep throwing paperwork at it. We contacted the EPA, we contacted Buck County Health. We're doing everything we can to try and get that place rectified, fixed up, or at least get on some kind of communication type deal so we can keep water. Also Burley Street, not the address specifically, but we were kind of told it's not a taxpayer's problem. So what we're gonna do is move forward to have the city mow it, where we start billing it and put a lien on the property. Aside from that, at the end of the day, he's doing his due diligence and getting all these citations issued. Marshall, you got any parks?
No, sir.
Mr. Wayne, streets and alley.
The only thing that I have on the road, I know several of those covers missing again on the things, and I don't know if you had contacted Frontier, but I was gonna get over there and see, because it's quite a hazard now, as long as those covers are missing in there.
I reached out, but never got a response, and you had an email for a corporate level, I'll look into,
I know several of them have been that basement.
right, I'll get a hold of you, and if I get feedback on it, I'll let you know.
I didn't know if you had any other issues with them fixing what they're supposed to be fixing, you know, they never fix on ours.
I've not had complaints, but that doesn't mean that things are difficult to, you know, it's, I don't know. Finance, kind of went over with Chris already. So at the end of the day, we make a motion to accept the committee reports.
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion, Dwayne?
Dwayne, and I'll second.
Rob?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And Dwayne?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Old business. Hot topic, here we go. We've been discussing contracting with Franklin County Sheriff's Office to a multi-city zone to where we have dedicated patrol from Franklin County. Now, that being said, update to this, Coelho will no longer be involved with this. Placing new paperwork and new numbers. So to recap, and we have some people here to speak, but I want to recap the numbers because these are papers I have on the table over there, so everyone can kind of get acclimated. Baseline price, 1 year annual contract with Franklin County for a dedicated 40-week hour officer is $25,807 annual cost. Now, to break it down, and this is going by Chris's numbers, our accountant, an average year, for the last year we had with the Leaders Police Department, we had an overall cost of $23,810.75, $4,157 that was labor. That's giving us an average overhead of $19,653. Now, if that were that, 30 hours a week, $22 an hour. Do the math on all this, it basically works out to 30 hours a week, $22 an hour. If we pay full salaries plus our overhead for the Whittier Police Department, without changing anything that we've done previously, it works out to about $53,973.75 annually. It's a little bit more than half the cost, or a little bit less than half the cost of whatever Whittier Police Department costs now to contract with Franklin County. We did get a quote from Cesar that came up in conversations up to this meeting. Cesar quote was $40 an hour. So doing the math there, 40 hours at $40 an hour to be comparable puts us at $82,200 a year, and that is not dedicated service. I've also heard people talk about, well, you have more than one city in there. That being said, I can do the math on that too. We have 3 cities involved, 3 villages, 13 and a half hours a week. Now, how this plan is designed to operate, because the plan is to patrol in between the municipalities and what we work out as an arrangement. That being said, when we patrol between, officer isn't going to be sitting in one town for 13 hours a day. They're not going to be, for 13 hours a week, they're not going to sit in one town until that shift is up. They're gonna rotate between the 3 municipalities. But I did the math anyway. So 13.5 hours at 40 hours a week, which is 10 hours more than what we paid previously approved for Lear, at $22 an hour. Works out to $68,000 a year. 13.5 hours at $22 works out to $34,525 a year. Still lower than Franklin County proposal of $25,800. Assessor, 13 and a half hours, $28,000 a year. If we do the math even further on the $25,807 that Franklin County is quoting us over 52 weeks, works out to about $12.40 an hour. I don't have a cheaper solution. This has been a topic of discussion for a very long time since I got in here as village president. We need police, we need police, we need police. This is your plan, this is the cheapest way to find it. That being said, Sheriff Bacon?
Yes.
Sorry to drop on this, but
That's
we want to discuss it a little bit further. so we
I spend
understand.
most of my time in fire.
Correct.
My name's Kyle Bacon. I want to introduce you to Kevin Roy. Kevin is the Chief Deputy at the Sheriff's Office. I've been with the Sheriff's Office since June of 2001. I'm into my 25th year. Kevin, 32 years. He should retire, but we won't let him. So between he and I, we've both been around a long time. I know that this has been a topic, not just here, but in many municipalities in the county. When Kevin and I started working patrol together 25 years ago, at that time, there were a number of municipalities that had law enforcement full-time or part-time that no longer have that. And we've been kind of rolling towards that slowly for a number of years. But in September of 2023, I get tired of talking about the Pretrial Fairness Act and the Safety Act, but when that came into effect in September of 23, a number of things happened that weren't good for public safety. First thing that happened is we went from 100 people in jail to 35 overnight. The second thing that happened is it enacted lots of what was referred to as reform, and some of it was reform, some of it was good, but some of it made things very, very difficult for folks like you guys, small municipalities. So, we've lost Orient for many years had some level of law enforcement. Gutner had law enforcement. Ewing, believe it or not, had law enforcement. Freeman Spur had law enforcement. Lear had law enforcement. Those no longer exist now. We recently, about 8 to 10 weeks ago, began covering the city of Ziegler from 7 a.m. Saturday morning until 7 a.m. Monday morning. So they have no dedicated Ziegler patrol on during those times. Now, we don't dedicate patrol there, but we respond to calls for service there. So things have been rolling this way, and not just in our county, all across the state and all across the country. If you do minimal research on rural law enforcement, it's not a pleasant read. So the Sheriff's Office has never contracted with a municipality previously. We've had about a 50-year contract with the Army Corps of Engineers, where each year we work dedicated patrols, specifically at Wind Lake. We have an IDOT contract now where they pay us an hourly rate to enforce certain serious crash-related traffic offenses, and we do that as well. So I talked to the mayor initially, and we had, as well as Jeff, and we discussed some options where there was some talk about potential dedicated patrols within the city of Lear. Then there was other municipalities who also had some interest. And I said, well, here's the thing. If we step out, it's one thing for us to probably handle that with the numbers that we currently have. But when you get into the 30 to 40 hour range, we can't consume that within our current numbers, so we would have to hire someone specifically for that. So that's what we began talking about, and we put together some numbers, and it was basically an hourly rate and fringe benefits. What we did not add in, because I didn't think it was really proper, was, and a lot of places do add these things in, but equipment, fuel expenses, all those things. Look, we all pay exuberant taxes, right? Payroll, property taxes, sales tax, every time we turn around we get taxed. So I don't feel like it's appropriate to just, we all live here. We all live in this county, and the sheriff's office has responded to the LEAR. We will continue to respond to the LEAR. But the interest here and the idea was to have specific patrol. It's not on call for service. It is simply slow rolling the streets within your community and providing that level of patrol. We want people to see a patrol car and not do 100 doing a call. How about just rolling up and down the road, talking to people in the yard, asking if they're having issues in the neighborhood. That's the idea behind it. This proposal, by the way, this is not a money-making venture for the sheriff's office. It's a money-spending venture. There's a massive amount of equipment, training. One of the reasons Kevin's here tonight is that he spends 30 of his 40 hours a week answering FOIA requests and trying to keep us out of trouble with our training requirements that were set forth by the state. So I want to make it clear to you all that I'm not here to sell you something. I'm not here to try to convince you to go one way or another. I'm here to make sure that the council and board and citizens can make an informed decision about how you want to move forward. I believe that y'all feel safe in your communities. I brag on Blair all the time because it is a great community. Honestly, I included calls for service in here. Your calls for service are very low annually. And I think it says a lot about people. So, one other thing I want to talk about is I can't get away from my phone ever. I sometimes wish I would lose it. But I get a lot of messages. I get Facebook messages, and that's fine. That's part of my job, right? I'm a 24-hour guy here. But sometimes people send messages that, well, we don't see the police. We're not seeing the police. We're having an issue here. And I get all that. We address that every single day about hotspots, where we're having problems, where we want our guys to spend their extra time, all of those things. But one of the things I wanted to point out was in fiscal year 2023, so basically 3 years ago, right? The sheriff's office had 8,141 calls for service in that year. This year we are on track for just under 14,000 calls for service. Okay, 3 years later, we picked up basically 45,000 calls or so. And we can attribute that to a number of things. Number one, for many years I worked second midnight shift. And we spent the vast majority of our time in the very, very rural areas of our county, right? We still handle calls for service in some municipalities, but for the most part, most of our time is spent out in country, unincorporated areas. That's kind of the cornerstone of the job of the sheriff, is to provide law enforcement to unincorporated areas. And what we have seen in the past few years is our call volume within municipalities that don't have law enforcement services has greatly increased. So we kind of moved, we're still in those areas, but nothing like we were. Now we're in these more heavily populated areas because of the calls for service. The LEAR, 2024, 47 calls for service, 25, 88 pretty low. I didn't do any comparisons with other municipalities, but I can tell you, you're on the very low end of those calls. And that's a good thing, but that doesn't mean that you back away because you want to hold the line, obviously, right? So that's kind of where we're at. The numbers I provided to the mayor here are accurate numbers. I did email him and just let him know that we did just settle a labor contract with our employees, and there was over the next 3 years, there's right at about a 4.5% increase annually in their wages. I don't know what that comes out to, but probably a couple $1,000, $2,500, $2,600 a year. That's not attributed to their entire salary, including the fringe benefits. That's just their hourly rate. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I did include with this packet, and I assume there's some, I know there's a couple over here. There's it's probably a 4 or 5 page document in there that discusses in Illinois the challenges of municipalities maintaining law enforcement services for towns that have 5 to 7 to 8 or 9 police officers. We, even at our office, where health insurance is paid 100% for employees, lots of vacation time, lots of fringe benefits, vision, dental, all of these things that we try to provide more vacation than somebody can use most of the time. We still have problems with retention and retaining police officers because there is so many options out there for men and women who work in law enforcement. We have a really hard time keeping people because there are so many options. And we're doing things that we have never done. We're preloading vacation on day 1 for new employees. If I would have asked for that 2001 day, they'd throw me out. Sign but that is a common practice. Sign-on bonuses. The county board, I see Angela Evans on the board is here tonight. The county board, at one time, we discussed $10,000 sign-on bonuses for sheriff's deputies. We haven't done it, but the board had kind of unofficially said if we need to do that, we would. $10,000 sign-on. So, and that's, I've been sheriff for going on almost 4 years. So I go to sheriff's conference twice a year, and I thought, man, what are we doing something wrong here? And I meet with 100 sheriffs up here. We sit around at night and eat and talk about all our problems. And I realized that they have the same issues. It doesn't matter if they're paying $100,000 a year or $50,000 a year. The retention in this profession is very difficult. And what happens is people end up hiring someone, they invest heavily in their training, they invest in them, in their profession, and all things are great for about 6 months, and then their phone rings, and the guy next door says, hey, why don't you come work for us? So that is a real struggle. I had a deputy the other night call and say, hey, this neighboring sheriff wants to know if we'll meet him at a house to make an arrest. And I said, absolutely. Go down there, meet him, help. Don't talk. Don't give him your cell phone number. Don't go have a soda at the gas station. I was kind of joking, but that's the way it happens. So, again, I'm not here to sell you anything, convince you of anything. George has done far more math than I've done on this, but it is what it is. And we work very hard to spend as much time as we possibly can within the municipalities that we serve, in between our exuberant calls for service. And I'm not making excuses, I'm just talking the way it is right now. And so I'm happy to answer any questions you have. If you have complaints, we'll take those too. Whatever. That's part of my thing here. So anything from anybody? Anybody on board have anything?
We discussed, when we talked about this program, starting a committee with
Yeah.
each, you don't have any
transparent. I eat some crow occasionally when we mess up, and I take that heat, and we celebrate when we succeed on something. But I will tell you, the sheriff's office has 70 employees. Some work in the courthouse, some work in the jail, some work on patrol, and we are human beings and make mistakes. And if we make a mistake, we work to fix that. Where we have a problem, where I see, where I lose it a little bit, is if we know what we're supposed to do and we just choose not to do that. That's where we run into problems, and we address those occasionally. But, yeah, I mean,
That's what we just discussed, we discussed it with Orion and all that, but more committee, but we could use.
Absolutely.
Maybe kind of.
yeah, I mean, if you look at the consolidated dispatch center right now, which you all pay into, the fire department, you know, when that took effect, part of the deal was from the municipalities and the agencies that were paying in, is they wanted to be able to have a sounding board, where if there was an issue, if there was a problem, they didn't like how something was rolled out, or they, you know, what their goals were, objectives, or whatever, they want to be able to meet with the people who make the decisions there and voice those concerns. And if I'm you and I enter an agreement with anyone, I want to make sure that I have a pretty straight avenue to the person making the decision, so that if I have a problem, I can deal with that. You know, I mean, there's no issue with that. Yes.
It sounds worse than it is, so bear with me on the question.
That's
It's a
okay.
simple answer. So we had reservations on this at the last meeting when we brought up the original contract. We'll actually have to change since we lost a municipality and we have the cost change. If we have any issue, and for the record, so we can state this, page 3, number 7, under the terms, it states would be in effect for a 3-year period, we like a 1-year period. Good with that?
Here's the thing, we don't have enough deputies, and I put it on here for you, current staff. That's our deputy staff. We don't have enough staff. If we had it, 5 more deputies or 6 more deputies, then it would have been an issue. We just pull somebody out and say, hey, this is your assignment for this week or this month. And next month we're going to change, you know. We don't have enough people to do this with our current staff. Now what happens, for example, Red Lake Patrol, we work about 60 or so shifts annually at Red Lake. Our guys sign up, and girls. They want to work Red Lake shifts, they sign them in. So if they work a Red Lake shift and it's on their regular day to work, then they have to make up a shift on one of their days off that week. Okay? But we don't have the staffing to do that long-term, you know, for a municipality or a group of municipalities. So what we have to do is we have to hire someone to work this. And there's a little bit of union, you know, we have a strong union, and I support those people. I was in the union for many years. But we have to hire someone to fill this position if it were to come about, right? Well, maybe we do that on a 12-month appointment. Maybe we don't. Maybe we do it for a year, and maybe everybody says, hey, we don't want to continue on. Well, maybe then we pick up another deputy when they're out there on patrol. We have to work that out. I shouldn't say that in front of Angela, she's on the board. She knows the trick now. But here's my thing. If I'm you all and I live in Lanier, or I live in Buckner, or I live in Orion, I mean, you know where the issues are, right? Regardless of your call, you know that that's just the calls for service. That doesn't mean that there's no issues, right? So we know where those problems are at too. And the issue is there's been a lot of times I've called the office and said at 7 o'clock at night and said, hey, I got a call today from Lear. We're having an issue over here, whether it might be a traffic problem, might be a suspected drug house or whatever. Get over there as much as you someone working within these municipalities who's only subject to a call within the municipalities, right? It's not gonna be in Blair roaming the streets and get called to Thompsonville on something. You know, that's the idea. And it's a good idea. You all have to decide what makes sense for you all financially and all the things, you know. I will tell you, and I'm not kidding when I say this, Kevin is worth about $18 million a year. He's at his desk 30 hours a week answering body camera FOIAs, in-car FOIAs. And you think, well, that's not a big deal, you just burn it. No, there's redaction involved in that. The redaction software, removing certain people and muting certain names if they're a juvenile or whatever the case may be. So he spends an unbelievable amount of time on body camera issues and training issues. I got an email today. I'm about to be in the red in trouble on the training. So the Safety Act put in place annual mandatory training that has to be met, and it's a significant amount of training. It involves sometimes some travel, and it's difficult to keep up with, and we spend a lot of time.
That's not part of the Safety Act.
That is part of the reform that was put into place, and it's, you know, the body camera thing. I mean, I 10 years ago, I would have kicked the trash can and screamed and been mad about it. But as an administrator now, I'm very much in favor of body camera. They've saved us far many more times than they've hurt us, right? Now, you know what we get on people about? Please don't say that word when you're addressing them. So, even if they want to hurt you, you know, language stuff. In intense, you know, violent situations. But in terms of how we treat people, arrests that we make, conversations, admissions, all of the things, the body camera's been an excellent thing. But we have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of body camera footage that's stored in the cloud that we pay tens of thousands of dollars for to do that. Because there's not enough memory in a computer. It's something that you can maintain in your office. I don't know what, you'd have to build a data center in here to hold it. So,
Do you think this program will allow you to do community policing more than?
well, one of the things, we had a deputy meeting not long ago, and I talked about this with them and let them know that this was being discussed and this could possibly happen. It may not, but I wanted our people to understand what the intent was. And I said, here's the deal. We're responding to calls for service now, right? But that's what we're doing. You're in, you're handling the call, you might make it loud, but then something else comes up. But with this, I don't know if you have the sheriff app or not, some of you follow our mobile app, but if you do, you will see that we do a significant amount of public relations stuff, non-law enforcement. You know, we put out a lot of those arrests and stuff, but we're on the bike trail, we're in back to school programs, we're in the schools, we do all kinds of stuff. And I think that that's kind of been a goal of mine to be involved in those things. And what I told our guys was that, you know, what we want to do here is the same thing we do at home. Roll down your windows, slow down, turn your radio down. If someone's in the yard, stop the car. Ask them about their neighborhood. Are they having issues? Are they having traffic problems? What are they seeing? And then deal with those things, but also pass that on to the other 15 or 16 patrolmen that are working at all other hours of the day and night, so that they're aware of these things. So they're not only an enforcement person, they're a public relations person, but they're also a kind of a liaison to pass that information back to the other people who are patrolling and who are responding here and all of that. And I'll be honest with you, one of the things that I thought about this was that, again, it's your decision to do as you choose. something to Kevin here, and he can whisper it down the line. By the time it gets down there, it's, you know, what's that, telephone game or something? So, you know, regardless of what you do here, and what decision that you make, we have responded here. We will continue to respond to calls for service here. We will continue to spend as much time as we can in every municipality. But I do have worry about, well, if another agency's working this many hours here, and then are we still gonna respond to calls for service when they're not working? I don't know. I don't know I don't know how that works, but there's, you know, there's questions, and I understand all that, and I'm not offended by, differing opinions, I'm not offended by someone who may or may not, you know, have a complaint. That's, I'm the chief complaint maker, so I'm not upset by that. But that's kind of what I'm. Anything else?
Anybody got any questions?
So basically, hiring one other officer for the town, how's that gonna work out with the 40-hour week on there with him having days off and stuff? Is it a set time he's gonna be?
No, it's a good question, and that was specifically addressed in our deputy meeting that we had, because one of the guys asked the exact same question. And my answer was, is that obviously, we're not gonna work Monday through Thursday, or Tuesday through Friday. We're not gonna have a set schedule, and we're gonna require that person who may fill that position to have significant flex in their schedule. We're going to require that happens, that they work different days. Now, we're not going to split their days off or try to, you know, but they have to work 80 hours within a pay period. Okay? And we're going to, it's our intention to, number one, mandate certain changes in that schedule, whether that be the time of the day they work, whether it's on weekend. I mean, we would require that. Obviously, if you got a problem in your town and you say, well, it's Thursday, they don't work on Thursday, then we haven't done a very good job. So it's a legitimate question, and that's how we would address that. We would require significant flex in our schedule. Anything else? Any training questions? Complaints? Oh, surely someone's got a complaint.
You don't have anything, Marshall? You have no questions?
What if he or she quits?
What if they quit?
Up and quit? I mean, we all have it all the time, like you said, they'll quit without warning.
Absolutely. Any department.
Yeah.
Including anyone that may be working in this facility, or this municipality. We address that almost monthly, and we just make things happen. You know, we are routinely, I don't know if you'll see, but a while back, we put out a app and on Facebook, I believe we put out a request for lateral transfers. And I will tell you, I mean, it's not a secret, that was specifically related to this program. Now, our intention was to hire somebody, right? Obviously, the position doesn't exist. One of the reasons we put out a lateral is because the requirement in our office to qualify for a lateral transfer is 3 years of full-time service for a law enforcement agency. We didn't want someone brand new out of the gate working this specific thing. We want someone who's seasoned, who had significant training, may be current on the training, so that once we ran them through an in-house field training program that we have, that we can immediately get them out. upset about that anymore. We expect that, as every agency is constantly losing and hiring, losing and hiring. We recently hired a guy who gave up $6 an hour to come work for us because he liked the department and wanted to. I don't know, but he did, and we still have him. We're happy to have him. So if we lose somebody, we try to constantly have an eligibility list, so that very quickly we can make those arrangements and make things happen.
Because to an extent, you're kind of talking, whoever this gentleman or she may be, they're almost going to be on a per diem thing, to an extent. They're going to work a few hours here, they're going to jump, work a few hours over here in this town, go work a few hours in Buckner. It's almost kind of per diem. They're jumping.
Per diem?
Yeah. They're jumping hours, you know, okay, we need you here, come here, and then we're gonna need you over here, sort of, some, a little bit, I mean, not the same thing, but it's
Well,
close.
I always look at per diem as an hourly rate. that's
Yeah,
paid.
where we need you, and when we need you. I mean, yeah,
Well, what I can tell you is that this person will work 40 hours a week. They would split those hours as evenly as possible. We believe that response to calls for service within these municipalities while that person is working may improve in time-wise. We believe that it'll free up that person to specifically provide those dedicated services when they're not being pulled away. If there was a crash in Thompsonville and people were badly injured and maybe a fatality, that would not pull your person. Okay? There was a question asked, I believe, in Coelho that there was a concern from the board that we would pull them and send them to another call for service in the county. And I said, there's only one scenario that I can think of where that would happen, and that was if another police officer, whether one of our own or one that worked for the municipality, was frantically calling for help in a life and death type of deal, then obviously we want to go. But there would never be a scenario where we would pull someone to send them to a call out in the county. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. I'm a pretty principled person, and I think we should get what you pay for. And you generally do get what you pay for.
And you're not saying that they may work all three municipalities in one day, right?
No, they absolutely would. That'd be a requirement.
Oh, they would work all three?
I mean, I think that, you know, it's hard to predict day to day what they would be doing in terms of, you know, if they're following up on an issue that was in there.
Right.
And maybe they're here for 3 or 4 hours, maybe they're not. Maybe they roll through town and they spend an hour and a half here, and 4 minutes later they're in Butler, and they spend an hour and a half there. I mean, you spend an hour and a half in there, an hour and a half in Butler, that's a lot of time. You just pop in every street there is. And, well, obviously there was a question about the proximity of Orient. And you know, Orient is very quick to run too. Andy's Road to Yellowways. You know, we're not gonna go to 37 or 148, circle around Orient. I mean, that's a cut through that's very common for us. Yes, ma'am.
So if he's tied up in, say, Orient, and dispatch gets a call from Berea, do we have to wait for him to come from Orient?
No, ma'am, and depending on the severity of the call and what the response would be to that, obviously, if it's an emergency call, people are coming regardless, right? If it's, she's wanting to talk to a deputy about an issue with a neighbor or a dog running at large or whatever, then we would stack him on that call, basically, and would be freed up, but it would depend on the nature. Yep.
So it would be the priority where the call falls before the person would be pulled, or the officer would be pulled from Berea or in court. In other words, it's gotta be a drastic reason.
Well, it's, you know, our policeman's life is dictated by the priority of the sometimes that priority is assigned through the dispatch, right? I mean, if it's life, safety, I mean, somebody is coming, it doesn't matter. Well, I can hear the radio traffic right now, where the dispatcher calls a deputy working the county and says, we're tied up in Orient, he's tied up in Orient, I need you guys to respond to this location. That's not gonna, change. And, a lot of times I've got complaints on, well, somebody didn't respond on this call, or they weren't timely. And I think it's important that people understand that the software that we use is about half, $750,000. So dispatch, patrol, the jail, it's all tied into this single software. So in a matter of seconds, even on my phone, I can pull up the call. I see when the call is received, I see when the call is dispatched, I see when the officer arrives. All those are automatically time-stamped. So, the only reason I tell you that is sometimes we get complaints on our response. And about 7 out of 10 times, or 8 out of 10 times, I look at that and I think, gosh, they're there in 7 minutes. They're 8 miles away, in traffic. So, there's a lot involved in the system that we use, and what we can see, and what we track, and what we look at. I mean, these calls for service, for example, every single month we run these calls for service. I know that Wednesday night, believe it or not, between 4 and 8 p.m. on Wednesday night is our highest call volume. I don't know why. So it's Wednesday night. But all those things, we take into effect all of those things, and when Kevin builds our schedule, we change schedules 3 times a year. Even when we build our schedules, we look at all that data to try our best to make our schedule to where we have the most amount of coverage during the highest call. So there's a lot involved in what we do.
So then it's more like a triage that you're operating under, just like any other.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how do you
Sometimes.
look at that?
Absolutely. And what happens is, there's a feature in the software. Our cars are GPS. So the dispatcher takes a call, looks at her map, or his map, and says, well, Ryan, or Kyle, or Kevin, whoever is closest to this call for service. They're on a call for service, but this is a non-priority call. So I'm going to use this feature in the software, and I'm going to stack them to this call. So the second that they show availability, they see that they have a pending call, and they respond to that call. Obviously, if you get an emergency call, we do things differently. We start holding people off to go with those things. But that's a very good, you're right, we triage a lot of things.
Just to get confirmation, like with Fury Triage, this contract and patrolling for us is going to inadvertently circumvent that rule, because we're going to have our own dedicated zone.
Well,
correct?
yeah, I mean, that would be, the whole premise for me is, and again, your all's decision on what you do, but the premise is that we try very hard to, I send messages all the time, Kevin does too. Hey, tonight, get into Butner as much as you can. Get into wherever. Spend as much time as you can. And I think hopefully you all see some of that. But you also see us responding to calls for service. And sometimes they're stacked calls. They handle the call and move on to the next. So they're not spending a lot of time. And I know that I'm not always happy about that. But we have 432 square miles that we're responsible for. So the program officer, they'll handle it. Or they're self-initiating calls, whether that be, I mean, the idea is not to come in and just write a bunch of tickets. By the way, we don't make any money on the traffic. But thanks to, we don't make any. You know, the idea is not to be a traffic, person and write 500 traffic tickets. It is to forge a relationship with the community that you're serving. Get to know people, they get to know you. That's what I told our guys, hey, you're gonna be the contact person for them. They're gonna have your card, they're gonna have your email. You're gonna take some ownership and responsibilities in the community that you're serving. And instead of serving 400 square miles, you're gonna serve 10. And you're gonna dedicate yourself to those 10 and get to know people, get to know what the problems are, and try to address them. That makes sense to me. But I know there's a lot of factors. I know there's different opinions, there's different thought process. I get all that. There's financial side of things. And you know what? I'd love nothing more than to say, yep, we're assigning a guy. We just don't, we're hanging on most of the time and running. That's kind of where we're at.
Anyone else?
I don't know, if I had a question.
Yes.
Sure, go ahead.
So, for instance, they're financially committed, they have their cop in our town, they're patrolling, and an emergency call comes in Christopher. Is there allotted, the police officer going to be taken from here to go to a call in Christopher?
No.
I think that's kind of what the
Yeah.
question was.
No, there would only be like a single incident. I told our people this. I said, you guys, this is a dedicated patrol position. We're not going to pull them to run a county call. We're not going to pull them because we're shorthanded and something crazy is going on. Just as we do not ever pull a Red Lake call. Friday and Saturday nights, there are 2 deputies working Red Lake. They do not leave Red Lake unless somebody is screaming on the radio. They don't leave. If they do, problems. They know that, and that's been, for literally 50 years in our contract with Red Lake. That's the, they are working for them as this deputy will be working for your municipality, and that's his primary, or her primary responsibility. Yes, sir.
One other question on there, we talked about the last number there, now we're down to the other 2 municipalities. 90 days to back out. So, does everybody start at the same time on those 90 days, or is that something that these other 2 already signed in?
We don't have any agreements with anybody. I will tell you that this particular document, I obtained from another county, and that was the language that they used. I think that if you're gonna, if the board or council or whoever decides, hey, we're wanting to out of this deal, I think you provide 90 days notice, starting from the day you give notice, and 90 days you're out. Is that what you're asking, sir?
Well, yeah, if they decided they don't want in it after the 90 days, then we're stuck with the other 2.
That is written into the, yes, that's written into the contract. And I understand the question on that, I get it, but at the same time, again, this doesn't financially benefit the sheriff's office. We're not making money on this. We're spending money on this. Police car costs $50,000. We bid a new F-150 the other day, $75,000 at our equipment. And that's not like the F-150 you get at the car lot. It's a pretty basic model. We put about $20,000 of equipment in each and every one of our cars. So for the camera systems and all the things. So I understand the question, but yeah, I don't know any other way. We can't eat that money within our budget. And here's another thing. We've never done this with a municipality. I'm sure there are a number of questions you have, and there's a number of questions I have. You think about the things that are on the city government side of things. You know, I'm thinking about, okay, what union issues might we have? What scheduling issues might we have? What are we gonna do if somebody takes vacation? What do we do if there's a workman's comp, you know, and this particular employee is injured on the job? Not the financial side of that, I mean, that's right, but I'm talking about filling that maintenance. Those are all big questions that I have, because we're all operating on a budget that we wish was much greater. You know, and, so I mean, I'll be real open and honest, so the questions that I have on my end, that I don't know an answer to. But I know this much, we're all trying to achieve the same thing in some way, and that's to provide these services. And, you know, sometimes there's these questions out there where we just forge ahead, and if they come up, we have to figure out an answer, so.
I have another question.
Yeah.
It pertains to Dwayne's. So if another municipality backs out, they will get it, but so then their coverage would be shifted over to, even though they'd be having more of a financial burden, they would get.
You have a
more
greater
coverage.
financial burden, but your hours of coverage will obviously
Yes,
increase.
increase.
Just as they did with from 4 municipalities to. And again, I want to be real transparent. I'm not offended regardless of the decision that you make. I mean, obviously, my goal is to always provide the best public safety and public services that we can. We're trying to do that every day.
That being said, to talk on that one too, say we did drop in another town when we were already contract. You know, doing the math on that one, we would be spending $4,000 more a year than we would normally spend at 30 hours a week and 22 hours per week, which is what we're currently. Just to put in perspective on that. Well, that's kind of, 34,000, it's in that sheet, that everybody, 34,320, we would be at around 38,000 for the county if we lost the city.
I always worry a little bit, and I've seen this, it's happened over and over again. Municipalities, even us, but smaller municipalities, hire someone, spend money, but invest in them, training, police academy, all those things. You know, even now, people are signing these 36-month contracts and things like that. But I recently was told that a fairly close department would want to pay your contract off. And if they recruited you, they pay your contract off. Because it's so, it's not, retention is a real problem.
Anyone else? For Sheriff Bacon? Thank you very
Can I
much,
say
sir.
something, Glenn?
Sure, go ahead.
I want to thank you, Sheriff Fagan, for coming here and talking tonight and explaining to us some of those details that we didn't have. And I
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I appreciate it. Regardless of what happens, I'm always, I enjoy meeting people and giving our spiel. And I like complimenting folks. But if you don't get complaints, you don't know where the problems are. Right? So, thank you.
Yep. My name's Jan Scott. I was here about 2 months ago when this idea came up. I represent Orient. I'm the mayor of Orient. So I was a little late because we also had a meeting tonight, so I zoomed on over here. I didn't speak, by the way. And it only took me 20 minutes to get here, so we're really not as far as people think we are. And I went through Christopher, I didn't go down Andy's Road. So Orient's fully on board with this. We've went through the struggle over the last 2 or 3 years trying to hire a police officer. Retention is almost impossible these days, especially on a small budget in a small town where we're not offering full-time hours and full-time benefits. Because once that person gets qualified, they're out the door. I think what we're getting with this agreement with the sheriff's office is a lot more than just one person 40 hours a week combined. I mean, we're getting the entire sheriff's department is what we're getting. And I think that goes unnoticed because we're just looking at paper and we're looking at, well, here's the cost for 40 hours split up. How is this going to make sense? Are they going to get more hours than us? And those are fair concerns. But having been through like the struggle of trying to maintain a police department, it's been almost non-existent for 3 or 4 years. And when we finally do find an officer, they're either not fully qualified or they've got some skeletons in their closet from the last 5 departments they worked for, and 3 months into their employment, we start finding out about them. And we don't have to go through those struggles if we get into this contract. You guys deal with the same problems that we deal with. And right now, I have seen a larger presence from the sheriff, the deputies in Orient. And I'm sure our call service to calls are a lot higher than yours. But so Sheriff Bacon is really trying, even without this, to push. And I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity that George presented to me and the sheriff has offered to entertain for us to be able to get services like this. I'm a parole agent for the state full time, so I go to all kinds of little towns all the way from river to river pretty much. I cover 10 counties. And so these agreements are becoming more and more common, where I'm in a small town in Randolph County or Wayne County, and their sheriff's departments are actually providing the services for the smaller communities. So this was something I actually brought up to the sheriff. I actually tried a larger neighboring community to work something out. We don't have the resources by ourselves to make that happen, but combined we do. And I think that even dropping one of the 4 municipalities, George sent me the email from the sheriff on how it'll cost a little more, but all I saw was the amount of more hours that we're going to get. And to me, it's worth it, because even like George said, if we drop one more, which Orient is not dropping, I can tell you right now, we're probably the easiest signature writers there is on this. Number one, you could back out. Let's say Orient backs out or Buckner backs out, and you say, you know what, we don't want to take on this. Then I guess all 3 back out, and there is no more agreement. That's always on the table. Number 2, let's say you decide you don't want to back out. Let's say Buckner backs out for some reason, and now it's just Blair and Orient. We get more of the service. You know, we're paying for, we get what we pay for, and so we're getting more of that service. Outside of it being perfect, because at the end of the day, we can sit here and pick all the little things out that we don't like. It's really a good deal for all of our municipalities. Excuse me. I showed up tonight to support it because I think it's a lot more sustainable with all 3. So while the sheriff won't tell you he doesn't care what you do, I do care what you do because it's going to benefit Orient. And so I'm here representing our town, saying that if we can join together, and the biggest thing that we kind of just went over really quick, but I think it's a huge part of this agreement, is this committee of, whether it be the mayors or one of the board members or council members, that are going to be able to meet with the sheriff or whoever he designates once a month or every quarter. I'm sure at the beginning it would be once a month, and maybe once we got the ball rolling, it would be quarterly. And we can kind of talk, okay, hey, this isn't working. Can we shift gears and do something different? I don't think what we're being presented is a rock, like an iron hard agreement, and he's basically saying, take it or leave it. I think this is pretty fluid, other than obviously the financial part of it, and we're gonna make this work for everybody. And so, as I was sitting there, I had a lot more to say, but it's hard to follow that because he did answer a lot of questions. And I appreciate you guys even, having this on your agenda and entertaining it, because without it, we'd still be in the same boat of what are we doing? Are we gonna try to find another part-time police officer? that we've been doing for the last 3 years, the costs aren't going down. Every time I turn around, there's another state mandate that we're gonna have to pay for. This is all wrapped up into one. We don't have to, we no longer, not only are we getting the police services, but we don't have to maintain equipment anymore. We don't have to, they've got their own insurance coverages for things that they would be responsible for. So there's a lot more burden to being taken off the cities than just one person in a squad car. If you guys have any questions for me about Orient's perspective on it, or I think Mr. Johnson, you asked about the deputy kind of bouncing around between. That was one of my concerns too, because obviously we see on paper, hey, we're getting 40 hours a week, but we aren't, Orient's not getting 40 hours a week. Valier's not getting 40 hours a week. And I said, when we had our meeting with the sheriff a couple months ago, at the end of the day, over the long term, it's gonna balance out. You know, there may be 1 week where they spend 20 hours in Valier and 10 hours in Orient, and 10 hours in Buckner. But this is a big scale thing. You know, we have to look at the end of the year when we get a report. I'm sure it'll be tracked how many hours are spent in each municipality. And I'm fairly certain that it would even out pretty well. Once we kind of talked through that, it wasn't much of a concern for me anymore. I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, but if you guys have any questions about, you know, maybe some of the things that we faced before we got into this, or is there anything about this that we have concerns with? Like I said, other than it being absolutely perfect and us getting 40 hours a week, or actually what would be perfect would be 24/7, but we can't, you know, sustain that. And that's why we're here. That's why we're having this conversation, because we've all been in this spot for a really long time, and this is an opportunity that we're not going to see again, other than if it's another conversation a year later with the same people. There's nobody else out there that's going to go help us. I tried to work something out with West Frankfort, and they just had too much going on, and the logistics were a lot different, because right now we are already in their jurisdiction. We're not in West Frankfort's jurisdiction, so there were just a lot more logistic hurdles. But yeah, that's about all I got.
I got a question.
Yeah.
The conversation I had with Sheriff Bacon previously informed me of a couple things when it came to other counties taking on the same type of project. Did you have anybody come back to you, and anybody you reached out to, that was not Franklin County, or West Frankfort, or whoever, anybody offer you dedicated service?
No. No one has reached out. The only insight I can give on that is when we first started having these conversations, I reached out to our city attorney, who we've been with for almost a year now. He represents, I think, 10 municipalities. And one of those municipalities is doing the exact same, or I shouldn't say exact same, similar program with Williamson County. And they have nothing but good things to say about it. It's working for them. I firsthand have seen the same thing happen in Randolph County with some of the smaller cities or villages over there, where I've been doing my duties, and I need, you know, maybe Crowley has a warrant, and I call the local police while I'm actually talking to the county, because that's who they contracted out. So it's not uncommon. I mean, this isn't ice-breaking or, you know, groundbreaking stuff we're trying to do here. I think it's just, for small towns, you're gonna probably see this trending a lot more, because it makes it affordable for us. Because we can't afford an $80,000 a year police officer, but we can afford a third of that. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, the point I just want to make is we're in this together. Like, Orient's not competing with Valier for police services. We can't do it without you.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Well, that's the bigger picture of this whole thing that I've harped on, we've discussed. It's not necessarily just a contract for law enforcement, it's involving, you know, federal legislation, sister communities. have an officer localized to, think about it. The majority of our crime is people that travel on foot or on bikes, and where do they go? Same roads that Franklin County would have to travel to get from municipality to municipality. We cut them off at the head. They're just in transit in between our areas. They promote good faith between the cities. Who knows, we can take as far as fundraising. It opens the door for many things. At the end of the day, last month, we tabled this because we were concerned about the 3-year term of the contract. We wanted to change to 1. We got verbal attestation there that that's not going to be a problem. Previous to the June meeting, it was a unanimous vote to move forward with the contract. So at this point, I'd like to request that we make a motion to at least vote on this. Yes or no? Have a decision made. Does anybody have any questions prior to that? There's a lot of parties invested, a lot of time invested, a lot of people. I think we need to get resolved to this, whether it's yes or no, but we can make a motion for it.
Can I speak on the, I forgot about the 3-year wording, can I speak on that real
Yes,
quick?
sure.
Because I think Buckner kind of had a little reservation on that as well. I looked at that the other way, so one thing that we don't like, and I'm sure you don't either, is financial surprises, right? So in this contract, at the end of the day, any of us can leave at any time we want, given we do it the way that the contract requires us to. So the 3-year thing is irrelevant in that aspect, but what it does positively is it lets us know what this costs ahead of time. So that way, we're not going into a 1-year contract and then we're sitting here in July 2027 with a surprise new price for our agreement with the Sheriff's Department. We already know 3 years down the road what this is gonna cost us. That was my positive thing that I brought out, the 3-year thing. I think it really does us a favor by giving us expectations on cost, rather than renegotiating a contract every single year and those prices possibly changing significantly, and we assume that they're not going to. Right now, we don't have to assume that because we can see on paper that they are going to, increase because they're union employees and they have a contract that, so it kind of reflects that. That's all I have to say on that. Yep.
I have one thing. I've never been hung up on a 3-year contract. The only reason I was placed in that way is I wanted to see the increase from year to year. What I didn't tell you is that I did mention the lateral transfer earlier, at a 3-year. So if we had a 3-year police officer that we hired for this position, they would be making 12 in year 3. You would be paying 12 in year 1. But we are eating some of that cost. But I didn't really talk about that.
I just wanted to share my perspective on that, how that's worded.
Anyone else? We get a motion to vote.
I'll make a motion for it.
I know you're all thinking about this really hard, but bottom line is safety. We have nothing right now. We can't afford a full-time police officer. There's no budget. Tell me where the budget went already, and we haven't had one in months. Where'd that money go? No. To get more safety? No. So this is up to you guys, whether you want your community to be safe, or just take it on the head. I mean, it's your responsibility now. This village is looking towards you for help.
Hey, Coach, can I go and speak? Got a motion on the floor.
We have a motion on the floor to approve or adopt the contract by Jeff Spiller. With a second.
Sandy. Yes.
This isn't a town hall meeting, this is a meeting to do this. So we can voice our opinions later on if we wanna have one.
I think we need to
That's not-
voice them before the
That's not what
decision's
this
made.
is, we're here to conduct business and pay bills.
You work for us.
All right, let's bring it under order for now. We have a motion to move to contracting. May's meeting was unanimous to move forward to developing this contract. Everyone on that side of the table did vote to do so. Now, we're not having a second to vote on this, yes or no. Let's at least have the resolve of the quorum. I'm not telling you what to do by no means. Let's at least vote on it. I mean, say no. No, I understand that. I understand that. I'm just speaking to the board. So we have the first, we need a second. Nobody has a second?
Motion dies with your second.
Yep. Topic is dead. Moving on to the next topic, old business, discuss and take action on disposition of police car and equipment. We have no need for that at this time, I will check with that. Could be today. Next up, discuss take action on no parking areas. Last meeting, we had a discussion about removing no parking signs around specific location. And in the meeting minutes, is read. Here on Parking Main Street, the residents spoke, on the property they own, that has no parking signs around it. She asked for consider removing the signs, she was being told that the signs were there because City Hall parking area is used for lifeline emergencies. Emergency services have requested that the signs be put there to keep people from parking there when they were landing lifeline helicopter and transporting patients to the helicopter. I've had multiple discussions since that last meeting about this topic specifically. That being said, two previous fire chiefs, I'm not gonna name names, documented conversation with the director of Franklin County's Emergency Management System. Lear does not have a dedicated landing zone for lifelines. When the situation arises, local available fire department chiefs are contacted to establish a landing zone with approximately 20 minutes plus in advance notice. And also, if anybody would like to see it, I have an email from the pilot that does the life flight. To my knowledge, there are no active PELAs, which are pre-designated landing zones for the city of Lear. In the event of emergency today, it would be up to fire and EMS crews to locate and secure an LZ for relay coordinates to us as pilots. So I ask, what is our reason for no parking signs being there? They weren't voted into place. There was a vote previously to purchase the signs. And they were placed without a vote or anything of the sort there. So if we don't have a valid reason, there are 3 signs on North and South roads, which is one on Garfield, 2 on Hayes Street, which are not no parking zones. We will need to remove because it's not in the ordinance book under no parking zones. As for the Main Street ones, I would like to push it to a vote and request that we vote to remove them because it doesn't necessitate any reason for them being there. And that being said, how would we standardize that to everyone else that's on Main Street? That's the only area that has it. to remove them?
I'll make the motion.
I'm noticing the trend, but can I get a second for that motion?
And this is all signs on Main Street that say no parking?
No, just in the agenda topic that was previously to the, 300 Main Street. No second?
Well, you'll have to change the ordinance, because the ordinance has.
Okay,
on Main
so
Street.
with that being said too, let's not chime in on that. I'm not asking for a response, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm asking for a motion from voting parties at board. I'm not requesting input. Anybody want to make a second? Okay, that topic is dead as well. Discussion on take action on quotes to install baby changing stations in restrooms. You had 2 quotes in there to install them. Anybody have any questions of that?
Commissioner Speaker,
Sorry, got food, wait till public comment, and I do apologize in advance. Do we want to accept one or the other?
I make a motion to accept the, cheaper one, which is $425 Crestwood.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Rob,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and Wayne.
yes.
All right, motion carried.
All right, I was able to, and you got these late, they weren't under your folder, they weren't included in your folders, when they were turned in on Thursday. Nobody picked them up anyway, but it's okay, it'll give you time to go through it. There's a cleaning service bid in here for City Hall and Police Department, there's an initial bid for one-time cleaning service, which is more expensive up front because everything is in disarray, and then a monthly charge. Our buildings are being used more and more, and our staff is getting shorter and shorter, busier and busier, so it's just a proposal to possibly keep things a little bit more friendly.
So 1,200 for this 21 fund.
That's a one-time fee to get all of the, both the fire department and city hall clean, and then two times a month for $350 a month. We don't have to contract both, we can do one or the other.
Do we have to have somebody who has like insurance and stuff like that, that doesn't get company? Do I know?
Well, it's,
You know what I mean?
yeah, and you're like, I mean, these people are insured, I can't give the copy of the insurance.
No, I'm
fine, but like, actually having someone, I don't think it'd be a good idea, not someone who's insured. Anybody want to make a motion to accept it or approve it? Discuss and take action on occupants living in campers / motorhomes on residential property. Rob?
Yeah,
So
so-
we'll take that one, what do you got there?
Basically, the only stuff we had before now was from 1997. Almost exactly 30 years. And the language is not the language that needs to, it's nothing bad, it's just, you can't put in their ages, from what I've learned. You can't limit ages on homes, you just have to word it differently. I got the one that Cesar uses, I think everybody should have that one. It's just one page, it's pretty cut and dry on, basically you can't live in a non-defined language. Yeah, there you go, and no more than one. It's pretty, yeah, gives you the width, how far from the street, all that stuff. This covers everything that we need, we'll use this one. Pretty simple. Like I said, the last one was July 31st, 1997. What that is, I don't know.
Where'd you get this code from, the Assessor code?
Mayor Ashmore.
Did you request anything from our stuff? Or did you have that, or did the Assessor order it?
This, talking about narco there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Gina found it for me.
All right, we have an ordinance to vote on. Do we want to take Assessor City Code, work the order, or what are we going to do? Is it dated 2020 or is it dated 2020?
It's made in 2020.
Is it 6 years old?
We gotta do something different.
Choice of words, but would you like to table it, or are we, you want to vote on this one that we have? I'll leave it up to you.
We can call on this one.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion to take Assessor City Code from 2020 and put it in place in our current code book?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Call the roll.
Who's second, Rob?
Yes.
Okay. Rob,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Jeff, and Blaine.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, clerical time, new business. Take action on 26-27 appropriations orders, 26-475. This is just us moving forward with our appropriations for the year. We need to vote to put it in place.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment just to
Yes.
help everyone? So
Yes,
this
sir.
is required by the Illinois Municipal Code, and you're supposed to do it by the end of the first quarter, which is July. So I highly recommend you approve it, or you'll be late. Generally speaking, the goal is to appropriate too high is okay, because you can always spend less. If you don't appropriate enough, you're not allowed to go over it unless you're in an unusual emergency situation. It's difficult to amend appropriations ordinances in the middle of the year. But Mr. Scroggins, who prepared this for you, does it for several other towns in Franklin County. So I haven't looked at it closely, but I know that you're up against the deadline. So you guys know.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
made a motion, you made a second already. Call the roll.
All right, Rob,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Jeff, and William.
Yes.
Next topic, open bids and sale of village property through West Kelso Street. Have we received any bids from anybody?
I'm aware.
Next up, take action on request for quotes for the housing grant. This is a necessity in order to move forward with receiving grants that we are moving towards the applications we received. This folder incorporates everything involved with that. This is basically seeking out contractors to do the work, the requirement for PSC engineering. We have to take a vote to accept those RFPs.
We just need a motion.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
You have a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Rob, Marshall,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and William.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next up, going through the code book, we have a section under business regulations and licensing. Each business, occupation, activity, or establishment for which license, permit, or registration is required shall also be required to pay a fee as set forth and determined by the Board of Trustees and set forth by ordinance or resolution. We don't have a fee. The only state average is $50 per permit. I just needed to get a motion to put that as our fee and add it to the book so we do have it on paper. Anybody want to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion for it.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Rob,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and William.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We have two quotes on the next topic on stop sign property to complete our stop sign project that started back in 2024. Quotes are pretty close and comparative, but the cost, I don't want to make a decision on that much without getting board approval. It's $850 through one company, $829 through another. We don't have enough signs to complete the project.
I'll just make a motion that we accept the cheaper one. Which was,
You got no signs?
yeah, maybe icon signs.
I'll second that.
Call the roll.
Rob,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
William,
Yes.
and Jeff.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our flags for the municipality are in disarray. We have new flagpoles. We'll be seeking out for new brackets. But we need to replace the flags. We're trying to develop a new way to hang them up to where they don't wrap around the telephone poles and rip every time we put them up. We'll be working with the CAC on getting these, to give people the ability to donate them. What I would need would be a vote to purchase whatever's not donated. What we're looking at is changing the size as well. It's a 2x3 flag now. They're about $10 a piece. So those old quotes, I talked to Mike and Jay, that's why it was just changed. So it's a smaller size flag with hopes that it doesn't get caught up with telephone poles. In the future, we can keep it longer. But whatever we don't get donated, we have 20 flags we need to purchase. That'd be $180 if we purchased all of them, but we are gonna get donations on that, so. I would just like board approval to purchase whatever flags we don't get donated, so we can decorate them for the next holiday associated with putting up flags.
Motion to do that.
Second.
Which one are you voting on, the cheapest?
It's a new one, it's a 2x3 flag, they're $9.99 a piece. We're working with the Community Action Group to get as many donations as we can, but we will have to purchase some when it's all said and done, possible. Hopefully not, but you never know.
Okay, who made the motion, I'm sorry, Marshall?
Dwayne did.
And who second?
I did.
Okay. All right, call the roll. Rob?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And Dwayne?
Yes.
All right. Motion carries.
Next up, we have radio quotes from Novacom. There was mention at one of our meetings that the fire chief doesn't have an active radio. Looking into this in discussion with the fire department, as well as previous chiefs, the problem we're having is we're using handheld radios, and when we get in the Sessa area, due to our cars just being handheld, not having bandwidth. There's two quotes on here. One would be a repeater install on the main fire truck that goes to all scenes, which would in turn work as a repeater for our handheld radios to boost their signal. Basically, what's happening if there's a structure fire in that area, you can't really hear our guys over the radio. That's why that quote's in there. The other one is for a new radio in the old squad car that our fire chief has currently. $1,300 on the squad car radio install. If we wanted to do a repeater on the fire truck, that's $3,400. We can also move forward to fundraising or anything like that, if that's what we're dealing with cost-wise.
You gotta have some. Novacom's a good company.
You want to make a motion for one or the other or both? Okay, whatever you guys would like to do at this point.
I make a motion we do both. If you get out of range without a repeater,
So motion to do both, you're out of trouble. Next, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Call the roll. Rob?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And Dwayne?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Discussion, I take action to add ordinance 26476 or Fair Housing Act to the current code, but we don't have this. We had to use an old one for our housing grant, that's how we found out we were deficient here. It's in your packets. It's just something to add to the book. Help us out future grants moving forward.
I'll make a motion.
We have a second.
Second.
Call the roll.
Rob?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
Carried.
Final topic so far is our IDR Osmond grant. Reached out to Greater Houston grant writers and reference from Franklin County on this one as well. It's a big packet, I only created one. It's pretty in-depth and it's all colored, and we'll waste the ink because it's a lot. What it basically is we need to come up with projects sooner than later if we want to proceed with this. We are considered a municipality in distress due to our income level. So what this would be, it's up to a $600,000 grant at a 90-10 ratio. They would pay 90%, we would be responsible for 10% for park upgrades and or land acquisition, but we don't need the land for it. We would need to come up with a project. I've heard a couple. One of them was bathrooms and a concession stand at the Legion Park. We're working on cleaning up the fencing therein. But this is kind of an open forum per se, potential projects and a request for this grant. But you have to pick a project to move forward with the grant right beside it.
Like tonight we did.
I mean, we have some time, we don't have to physically do it tonight, but we have to have this meeting to discuss it. And the next step is to contact the grant writer again with
When you say it's an open forum, does that mean everybody or just you guys? Okay, just
Security side of it would come down.
as a new mom, I would love for the park uptown to be fixed up. And there's a lot of little kids on our street. And I mean, I loved playing at the park when I was a little girl. So it'd be really nice to have it redone.
Which one?
That one up there. Yeah.
Legion.
Because my kid and the other kids on my street, they're too big to play on these down here. So it'd be nice up at the American Legion to have that one fixed up a little bit.
Is this the one that I talked to, Lisa?
I'm not for sure.
Well, we had that. I was over there, when we talked, and I talked to her in the back of my house. And told her it was not the person. And that was one of the, I think it was one of that, so I like to see that.
Anyone else?
Is that just for the park, or that?
It's just for parks.
How about tables right there too? Are we kidding? And the pickleball.
Anybody from the board got any good ideas for the community?
I think bathrooms would be a big.
Yeah, bathrooms would be a great idea. The whole park. I mean, and the thing with the budget, too, we might be able to do that. We just have to get a project to centralize off of it, and then get bids and quotes from there and see what we're dealing with. But the acquisition of it, or the initial seeking the fund, is an August 31st deadline. So I found out about this one, like, we're trying to rush through it. I found out, like, honestly, not even last week, we were potentially able to do this. So, that's some good ideas there, and we move forward, see if we can create one. I'll reach out and see, I'll keep everybody in the loop as I contact them to see exactly what they want for specific, because they were asking me actually today about the project that I'll see how definitive they need to be. Does anybody else have anything on this topic? Okay, so this is just kind of carried over, but not votable. Public comments, I did not grab the sheet, I don't know if anybody signed up over there. Something up sheet. No one, okay, anybody got anything to say? Yes.
Okay. Community Action Committee was formed in September of 25, and our goal is to serve the residents of the Lear and bring the people together, identifying community needs and creating opportunities that strengthen our town. We are encouraged by the support that we continue to receive from the community. At our July community breakfast, we welcomed 81 attendees who had signed in. And during our Christmas and July event, we had 45 people that signed in, and many of the parents did not sign in. The Food Truck Fridays continue to be a great success, with participating food trucks serving approximately 50 to 75 customers each week. The strong turnout demonstrates that there's a real need and a desire for more opportunities, activities, and food options within our community. We've hosted numerous community breakfasts now, organized and hosted 2 community events, assisted Sue with the annual lighting of the tree celebration, participated in the community street cleanup, and organized a cleanup effort.
we continue to build partnerships encouraging volunteer involvement throughout the year, and these accomplishments are only possible because our community has embraced what we're doing. Your participation, ideas, willingness to volunteer show the Lear is ready to grow together. The Community Action Committee exists to serve residents. We want to hear your ideas about what you would like to see in our community. While suggestions may not be possible immediately due to funding or resources, every idea is valued and will be considered as we plan for the future. We are currently preparing to file for a nonprofit status, and becoming a nonprofit organization will allow us to hold larger fundraising events, apply for grants, and secure additional resources that will benefit our community for years to come. And at this time, we would also like to ask the village board to consider allowing the Community Action Committee to install a giving cabinet in a public location. The cabinet would provide a place where residents can donate non-perishable food goods, toiletries, laundry supplies, and other essential household items. It would offer a simple, dignified way for neighbors to help neighbors and ensure that those experiencing difficult times have access to basic necessities, whatever they need. And thank you for everyone who has supported the Community Action Committee.
Inside or outside, you want that?
Outside would probably be better. That way they could come at their leisure.
Let the minutes show, we'll put a request for a label as giving box on August agenda via the CAC. All right, anyone else, public comments?
I'd like to say to everybody here and anybody who watches the video later, if we could really get out and vote the next time, maybe get some board members in that will listen to the community and what they want instead of just doing what they want. I agree.
Anyone else? Okay, this next one, we need to move to executive session. I'll give you the motion. It's a 2C1 under the Open Meeting Act is what we're going to be moving forward. If someone would make the motion to that, move to executive session to discuss personnel.
I say something before you go there.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, well, when I was gonna run for board member, because I didn't want to run against Jeff, and I didn't want to run against Bill, I decided not to. But I told George I'd do everything I could to help, I'd try to get grants, I'd do whatever I could, to help. And I called Jeff, the assessor, and he told me what to do. And, so I called Liz down at Marion, what if I can get the name of the thing, it's the Great Egyptian, I don't know what it is. But anyway, she came up to my house and I asked her if they come, I don't know, if I sent you a text to come, I don't remember. But anyway, let me tell you some of the things we were like. But I said, I would like to, to be informed, what's going on, because I was the one that, was concerned about it. And, we want to have unity in our community. We want everybody to get along. And, I don't know if this term, I joined the CAC, so I could help and do things, with the community. But it just seemed like, that it wasn't important. I asked it to know what's going on with it, because I'd asked her. But nobody seems to tell me anything about it, and I called her several times and talked to her about it. But maybe I'm just being a baby about it, I don't know. And, but anyway, I think we need to have more of a common thing, quit this, one side being against the other, it breaks my heart.
I think we have sides.
Yeah, sides.
At the end of the day, I talked to that Liz lady, I don't know her here, I talked to her have any updates on it. This Oslog grant one is a new one, I'm dealing with a different person that was referred to as the grant county. No, this was a different person. When I called about it, it's not handled by that Liz lady, it's handled by another.
May through that company.
Correct, same company.
Right, 'cause she
So it's,
told me that.
all that stuff's in development, it's not,
She told me that.
it's, but we're working on it. I don't have anything to update really, aside from I just gotta try to come to people. Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like some clarity.
Sure.
So, just to be clear, the signs were voted on for code, the zoning ordinance? Is that
No,
what
there was never a vote.
There was never a vote for those signs to be placed around my property. They were placed around my property. And if I'm to be clear, you're saying that there is conflicting stories where, the flight plan is not conflicting with my property. And you didn't vote, you withheld, and George asked for a vote, and you didn't ask them to call you cowards. You did not respond, you did not respond to the vote, you did not vote. Shame on you. I want those signs moved. There's no need for them to be there. I am planning to have a business. By the way, thank you for voting yes for it. My food truck will be delivered next week. And I want those signs moved. I'm also part of the CAC, my wife formed, and we work hard for this community, and my property is probably one of the most beautiful in Southern Illinois, and I continue to make it so. Regardless of what you decide is good for this community, that's not good for this community. Going against the better interest of society, basic, you're allowing outsiders to come in here and have business in town, but vote no on somebody in town having a business that contributes to this society. And George asked you to vote. And he also asked you why you voted on those signs being there, and you didn't vote. He wanted to know why. He wanted the answer to know how come those signs are there if nobody voted for it. And if nobody voted for it, then there's no reason for those signs to be there. So I'm asking those signs be removed. Now parking has never been a problem there. There's a 6-foot patch of grass on the side of the road where people can pull up and stop and get the order, and they'll be there a minute or so. But in the event that I should grow a great business in Southern Illinois right here in this town, which I hope to do so, I will be putting a parking lot at this end and a sidewalk. But we gotta start small, and we gotta start somewhere. And change starts with you, and with you. Those signs need to come away from my property. And if they don't, I wanna know why not. I don't want silence. George asked you, why are those signs there? We all know why those signs are there. That happened a day after with the discussion of the former mayor. And it was block access to my property. And those will not block access to my property. That I will do what I'm gonna do with or without your consent. We can settle this here in a civil matter amongst society and the community, or we can settle in court, and you can cost the city a whole lot of money. But be warned, those signs are removed from my property.
So that being said, trying to interrupt your MC, but before things get too heated, North and South roads, which are Garfield and Hayes, do have 3 no parking signs. Those are not even no parking sign zones, and the ordinance book, and those will be removed.
Thank you, sir.
The no parking signs on Main Street as of right now will stay because I requested a vote on it, didn't get a response. So that's where we're at on that one.
Thank you.
Back to anyone else, sorry. Yes.
Are there, can we get some reasons why we didn't like the police plan? What was the problem with it? Why did you guys not like it?
First of all, appreciate him coming out, Sheriff coming out, and everybody. Never heard nothing from Cesar. I'd like to hear Cesar's plan. You don't just go with one plan. Don't just
Why
go with
didn't
one.
you find out during the last month?
Well, we're setting that up. I've been checking Blaine's been doing the
Would
same.
you like me to go to the minutes to tell you the cost that they quoted?
Well, George, I'm doing my own research. You did yours, I'm doing mine, okay? I'm going to entertain having Jason come down and explain, just like the sheriff did, his side, and compare them.
So mine is where a conversation with him.
We can't afford $83,000.
How do you know he's gonna stay that way?
That's how I see
I
it.
don't know. Nobody does.
What happens if
And on top of that, no
We can't afford
disrespect towards the
benefits.
sheriff's
We
office.
cannot afford the
I was
benefits.
out all weekend long,
Oh.
all weekend. I sat out here and did work at the house for the next. I heard constant hot rodding, everything else going on in this town. All
Marshall, you
weekend.
know what? Did you see
Never
the police?
seen
Did
a
you see
police
the police?
officer, not once.
You wanna come look at my
And
camera?
he might call me out on it,
You
and
wanna
I
look at
might
my
be
camera?
totally different.
I'll be more than happy to show you my
I don't
camera.
want to see your camera, I'm just telling you what I observe, from
That's what I
my
observe.
perspective.
You live outside of town. You don't live in the town.
We
And I'll
have
tell you right
nothing.
now, I do live in the city limits.
Well, you might live in city limits, but you don't see
And I know what I'm
people
seeing.
who live on these streets. People are going up.
You look back over here, and you're telling me you couldn't hear all that going on yesterday in this town? Black Dodger?
Did you call? Did you call
Just
Franklin
going
County?
nuts.
Brian?
County.
Did you call the county?
No, I did not. I was sitting
Why
outside
not?
building on
That's their
pool deck all
job.
day.
That's their job.
And the stop sign we put down there,
That's a joke. Every stop sign in this town's a joke.
they blow it. And one of these
Every
times,
time.
God forbid, somebody's gonna get
You
smashed
got
down
that
there.
right.
They're gonna
Right
get it.
up at the post office, too.
They look at that stop sign down here on Jefferson Street.
Now, you
and
might ask
laugh
for
at it.
public comment, because this is leading nowhere to come close to the time constraints.
And that's the reason. I want to hear assessors in. There you go.
I'm good.
But I have
Thank
a
you.
question. What happens if Franklin County's is better than what Assessor's office?
I don't know. We'll go from there.
Re-vote on that, or we can't do that?
Go from there.
Since it was a dead topic, you could always be revisited, because there's no vote to reset. It could be a potential, but at this point in time, I mean, we have a lot of, it's not just our municipality involved. I'd be concerned about anybody moving forward with us after tonight. Anyone else?
Would you like me to speak up on the place side, the board?
It's a little less, I mean, I have about 1 minute left of public comment, so you got about 1 minute of discussion. I think they got marked up, I apologize.
All right, I've been in the emergency field since '07. I love helping people. If you decide not to go with them, I'll do it for you guys. I've always loved helping people. I've worked with both the sheriff and Kevin when I was on Session Fire. Like I said, I've always loved helping people, if you ever decide.
Thank you. 2C1, Open Meetings Act, motion to move to executive session